Hills and mountains are our invaluable assets and resources. It is highly desirable to plant as many trees as possible, especially on barren hills and mountains, so that green valleys could be passed on to our future generations. Yongyil District on the southeastern coast of Korea, an industrial area where mammoth industrial facilities, including the nation's largest Pohang steel mill, are scattered. Though it is an important area as the gateway to international air routes as well as industrial district, the land as a whole had long been deserted. But once we resolved to make the area into green, we have made it green within a short period of time, and today the people say that we achieved a miracle in Yongyil District. Soil quality made wide area deserted, and this fact had long been a hindering factor to the development of industries. Moreover, the district could not give a good impression to visitors. The deserted land here has special geological feature with shale strata that belong to the tertiary period of the Cenozoic era. This type of land is hard to cultivate once it is deserted, and so no one thought of undertaking erosion control project to make it green. To accelerate conversion of the barren land into fertile green land, the government established a field project office which was to supervise 3 or 4 years of intensive development work to be undertaken with the will, technology, and manpower. The first step of the project was an extensive survey and analysis on natural and geographical causes of devastation, and data obtained could aid adoption of effective engineering process and procedures for the erosion control project. As the topsoil, deserted for a long period of time, was washed and carried away by rain, and sometimes even the soil covering the roots was washed away when a torrential rain poured, creating a stream on the surface before it reached the tree roots, trees and vegetation could not survive in the area. Though hard it may seem, the shale rock covering the surface layer in the Yongyil area is fragile and turned into soil with small rock particles when it is soaked by rain and dried by direct sunlight. And then wind from the sea dried the small rock particles and carried them away, and the result was loss of surface soil. While the trees withered away, failing to root under the ground and their roots exposed to strong sunlight and wind, the soil surface became cracked and took the shape of that of a turtle back. No tree could possibly survive on this kind of soil. On such deserted soil, even ants go astray. This area became frequent victim of flood and drought. Such farmland damage was an obstacle to the industrial development. At last, in September 1973, a bold step was taken to create a miracle at Yongyil Bay, establishing 2 erosion control projects offices and dividing the whole area into 20 sections. Our technical team blueprinted a detailed erosion control project plan. The team first proceeded with a minute area survey, then followed the settlement of the deserted land area and the project area, and annual project plans which included adoption of suitable engineering process. To ensure fruitful results, field supervisors were specially trained. Total area of 4,538 hectares, 627 hectares were to be completed in 1973, 1,299 hectares in 1974, 971 hectares in 1975, 719 hectares in 1976, and 922 hectares in 1977. A total of 3,828,000,000 won was to be invested. The tenacious people in the Yongyil Bay area were determined to make their own communities into a green area with their own hands, no matter how hard the work would be. Because of the characteristics of soil strata, the use of heavy machinery or equipment would not play their role. Only human hands and strength were required. The movement of soil and sand was prevented by scraping off protrusions by the aid of chisels and large hammers, and by leveling irregularly shaped earth mounds and the surface. Also, the basic grading work and the terracing work proceeded simultaneously to facilitate the growing of trees and vegetation. Where there were steep cliffs, the workers had to depend on ropes. The technical supervisors took charge of not only the work itself, but also safety measures. Everyone on the site was united under a spirit, the spirit of cultivating the barren land into green fields to be passed on to future generations. Stones were stacked to form a wall at the foot of the portion with steep inclination, or the bottom of terracing. Different engineering processes were used in accordance with the topographical characteristics. Stones were also stacked at the breast of the hill. Since vehicles could not be used to transport stones, men had to climb up the hill with stones. In all, the workers carried a total of 2.3 million pieces of stone to the site. Here, a terracing work is underway to form terraces where seeds for trees are to be sown. The work team discovered the layer of the topsoil was unusually thin and the soil itself extra hard. A special process of contour ditch digging went on, and soft earth filled in to convert the soil manually to enable plants and trees to grow. Contour ditches were dug deep and wide so that rainwater could stay in them for a long time. After weathering, fertile soil was filled in to make the area suitable for growing trees and plants. Compost was produced by leaving the mixture of soil brought from other parts and cut grass for decaying. During the period of 5 years, the total quantity of such mixture produced reached 2.1 million tons. For the sake of convenience, the mixture was produced near the erosion control project site. When planted, trees seem to grow quite well even in the shale stratum in the beginning, but they wither away soon because their roots cannot extend deep into the ground. Here, compost is being moved to the project site. Peril often accompanied where the site was inclined abruptly or the terrace was narrow. Even A-frames could not be used in certain areas. In such places, women joined in carrying compost to the site. They all seemed determined in building fertile land. The foundation for planting and seeding was gradually formed as more and more soil and compost were moved to the terraces and the contour ditches. Indeed, tenacity, will, and cooperative spirit, coupled with technical work process, made a foundation for trees to grow in this deserted area. Are being carried to the site to build striped sod holes and sod aqueducts. Step by step, the area was turned into green. Now, the sodding work went on to protect the soil, seedlings, and seeds from being washed away. Work proceeded smoothly thanks to the adaptability test conducted at the planning stage and the suitable work process adopted. Great quantity of water flows, stone aqueducts were built to drain it, and where little water flows, ducts were built to fix the earth's surface and the ducts, and banks were made to maintain harmony. The erosion control project in this Yongyil area also included the building of various structures such as water ducts, soil piling and bearing structures, etc. Here, grass is transplanted on the sloped surface in between terraces to prevent soil and sand from being washed away and to aid vegetation growth. Grass was transported in large quantity here. The fast-growing varieties used soon covered the surface, and part of it took the role of compost for the trees planted. After various structures were built and the basic works completed, tree planting started from the middle of March. In order to protect little seedlings from drying out by direct sunlight after transplanting, seedlings were carried in bags with damp sponge board at the bottom. Seedlings were carefully transplanted in order not to harm their roots. 3 representative species of trees, acacia, alder, and pitch pine, which can adapt themselves to the climate and soil of this part of the country, were planted, 24 million seedlings in total. Supplementary soil, compost, and seeds were mixed. Now seeding began. Seeding usually proceeds after transplanting of trees, and it should be finished before the end of April to aid budding. Seeding proceeds in the following order: digging furrows, putting in supplementary soil and the mixture of soil, compost, and seeds, pounding, and sweeping large stones and earth away. During the 5 years, some 101 tons of seeds, including some of the native varieties in acacia, were sown. The people in the area touched every steep slope and valley, not to mention level ground. Conviction, wisdom, and ceaseless efforts have paid off. The buds are coming out. Green buds are coming up with hope for the future. The project was a success owing to technology, studies, efforts, and backing by national economy and strength. April 17, 1975, President Park Chung-hee inspected the Yongyil area, which was changing day after day into green communities. Here, the President was briefed on the proceedings of the project in detail. And then the President encouraged the people concerned and instructed them to prepare compost needed for the project well in advance, to plant many trees around the project area, to dig contour ditches deeper, and to build more head holes. Buds are growing as a promise for a hopeful tomorrow. It is the result of a will for making the barren into green. When the buds grow and the whole area turn into green, the Yongyil area will become affluent communities, and the visitors to the area will see a large green district on its way to future prosperity. An effort was paid to the management of various problems after the erosion control project was complete. Trees and grass grew well on fertile soil, but as time passed, they needed more compost to grow. So additional compost was supplied to them every year. It was applied carefully not to touch the tree roots and covered with soil to keep it there for trees and vegetation. In some parts, trees stopped growing when additional compost was not applied. Compost was given promptly in such cases, and all the inhabitants joined in voluntarily in growing the trees and grass. Flood or drought was about to hit the area, everyone in the project office participated in taking preventive measures. As the hills became green, even a heavy rain did not form a stream of its own. Now water was drained via aqueducts, and because the soil surface was covered with tree leaves and grass, clear water flowed. The people knew that the nature was on their side now. Was now adding rich green color. Devastated Yongyil area of 5 years before was no longer there. Green Yongyil had replaced it. Barren hill of yesterday, some trees grew even 70 centimeters a year, and the whole area was a completely different place, similar to other fertile land. As the project year advanced from the first to second and third, trees and grass grew more and more. There was no trace of devastation now, a drastic change in 5 years. Our project covered in 1977 was 922 hectares. This is a view of a green area in Toseongni, Shinkwangmyeon, shot in July 1977. The area covered in 1976 was 719 hectares, and this is a view of Minamri, Cheonghamyeon, a year after the work was completed. This is a view of Odori Uichangop in 1975 when President Park Chung-hee visited 2 years after the work was finished. The area covered in 1975 was 971 hectares. This is Cheongjin-dong, Cheonghamyeon, 3 years after completion. The area covered in 1974 was 1,299 hectares. The trees and grass are growing fast. 627 hectares completed in 1973. This is the result of sweat and efforts of the people in the Yongyil area. The Yongyil district has thus been converted into green, hopeful communities. While the land changed into a green, beautiful area, the people came to have a green dream. The industrial estate by Yongyeo Bay now draws ample quantity of industrial water. The project is expected to further aid the industrial development in the area in the future. The erosion control project in the Yongyeo area has set a good example that such project could be undertaken successfully by the people in the area. It is expected that such projects will be undertaken in other areas as well. The people of Korea are willing to work hard for their own communities and the country, for they want to pass on to future generations a better place to live and the green will.